welcome into the first of what we assume to be a few of Card Central instant reactions. It is the 2025 trade deadline edition. Brendan Schaefer, Joe Roderick jumping on with you to talk about the move that was just announced. Jeff Passan tweeting out that Ryan Helsley has been traded to the New York Mets. Full transparency, I was driving home from the station. I pulled over. I am now in a Target parking lot in Belleville, Illinois. I jumped over into the shotgun side of my car, turned on the hotspot, grabbed my computer. Brendan, I know you're at home and you have all the details of what is going down.
I do. I'm seeing from Jeff Passan reporting the return for Ryan Helsley. The Cardinals are getting 3 prospects in this deal: a right-handed pitcher, Nate Dom, a shortstop, Jesus Baez, and another right-hander, Frank Eliasalt. I don't believe Eliasalt is ranked among the top prospects for the Mets. I was pulling it up just a moment ago. Jesus Baez per MLB Pipeline was number 8. Dom was number 14. So you're getting some guys that are at least ranked within their system in terms of prospect capital, but certainly not quite the extent of a deal like we just saw previously a few minutes ago. Mick Abel going from the Phillies to the Twins in the Joan Duran trade. That's obviously a starter they can plug right into their rotation potentially at certain points in 25 or 26. That's not going to be the case exactly with the return the Cardinals got here, Joe, but I will say this: as more information begins to come in and as we really get underway here with the Cardinals being active during this deadline, it really does seem like the Cardinals are at least understanding where they're at. Not going to be winning the World Series this year. Time to capitalize on these short-term assets, and they get 3 players for Helsley.
And you look at the comments, and if Rock wants to throw a few of these comments up on the screen as he's working for us backstage here. Instant reaction from you, the fans. Not happy. not happy at all from this. And I think if this trade happens an hour or two ago, I think you probably see a different reaction. Maybe, okay, they got something. But after seeing what the Twins just got from the Phillies,
that's crazy.
That's what's going to piss a lot of people off right now in Cardinal Nation.
It is, but let's recognize, and look, I get it that you're saying, well, why a shortstop? Why this? We're still going to have to dig in a little bit more to these players. You know, at least this Baez kid was a top 10 prospect for the Mets, the highest ranked player in the deal for the Cardinals. But when you look at the trade between the Twins and the Phillies, it did feel like a couple of things. One, oh boy, Cardinals could have potentially sent Helsley to the Phillies. Now that can't happen. Yoan Duran, though, is a more effective, more attractive asset right now than Ryan Helsley. A 2.01 ERA. He's got 53 strikeouts in 49 innings. He has been a better pitcher this year, Joe, when it comes to what the production the Phillies are getting and giving up Mick Abel. But I think I said on my KTGR show right as we got off the air and we're talking about that deal, I said, man, if it's Helsley, Maton going to the same team, if they can get me the equivalent of a Mick Abel, I think that would be a slam dunk deadline. And instead, you know, it is some younger prospects that the Cardinals are recouping here. The Frank Eliasalt character, is a 23-year-old pitcher. Jesus Baez is 20 years old, so maybe some real upside there with him. Nate Dom was just drafted in last year's draft, the 3rd round by the Mets, is 22 years old. So you don't have guys necessarily, Joe, that are right on the cusp. But, I mean, for Cardinals fans, a lot of play that the conversation between Randy and I got on social media today from Tuesday's Randy show, where we said, look, I don't think that Cardinals fans have the stomach for a rebuild that they necessarily think. This is kind of what a rebuilding type of trade looks, where you're stacking up assets for not necessarily 2025 or 2026 even, but 2027 and beyond. It's not exciting because they need starting pitching. And when you see another rival organization trade their elite closer for a guy that legitimately has some hype, and Mick Abel hasn't performed yet in the big leagues, but he's got a 5 ERA in the 25 innings or whatever he's thrown this year, that feels like a guy that would have come to Cardinals camp next February and been in line to be the number 4, number 5 starter. Like, you really need guys like that, especially with all the prospects that have that are injured. And so what's interesting here is You have 23 hours to go before the deadline. Helsley was your biggest trade chip. He's the guy you're going to get the most for, unless, Joe, you find that they're going to start dealing from guys that have more team control. For Nate Dom, Jesus Baez, and Frank Elisalt to be the return, it does feel a little bit underwhelming in conjunction with what the Phillies just gave to the Minnesota Twins 25 minutes ago.
Here is Jason Stark tweeted this out about a half an hour ago, and it this jumped out at me. It reminded me when you mentioned the fact that Duran has been more reliable and a more shutdown pitcher. That here Duran has faced 18 batters in 4 postseason appearances, 6 strikeouts, 2 hits, 0 runs.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. We don't have to dig deep to pull up Ryan Helsley's 1 postseason appearance that we all remember against the Phillies.
Well, I mean, I don't know how I know
it's small sample size. I get that it's small sample size, but what I'm saying is you have a guy that has pitched in the postseason and has pitched well in the postseason, and that's what makes Duran much more effective and much more attractive in a deal like this.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like, his season production was better this year, so I don't think it was reasonable to expect Mick Abel. Like, clearly the Cardinals were, and look, you can probably connect the dots.
If it was just Mick Abel, then maybe, but I think that was a name.
No, I don't think so. No. I disagree. You weren't getting Mick Abel. How do we know? Well, because the Phillies got the guy from the Twins. Do you think it's a coincidence that 15 minutes later the Helsley thing happens? I personally do not believe it to be a coincidence. I think that once the Cardinals saw that domino fall, they said, okay, that's one fewer spot that we could send Ryan Helsley to and get a return. I would not be surprised if the Phillies were in talks with both the Cardinals and the Twins throughout the day today. I don't know that to be sure, but I'm saying it would line up and make sense when you look at the timeline of these deals coming together. It's possible that, the Cardinals tried to get something done with the Phillies and tried to get something from Mick Abel, and then they said, hey, this thing from the Mets is maybe the best that we're going to get because the musical chairs is happening right now. We're going to lose our opportunity. I don't love that they are thinking they're going to lose their opportunity with still 23 hours to go on the trade deadline, but could they conceivably have been trying for something more akin to a Mick Abel, but when they either didn't get it from the Phillies or they saw the Phillies deal happen, that kind of got them into a mode of, let's go ahead and make sure this gets done because the Mets are going to move on if we don't decide to get something done with them. That's like the thought process that I wonder of what's going on behind the scenes. It's unfortunate that it resembles like a package of quantity over quality, I think, is the perception that Cardinals fans are having right now. But we also do have to recognize, to your point, Joe, about as much as I don't want to paint it as because of the 2022 playoffs, but more than anything, the current season for Helsley has been better recently, but it's been kind of up and down throughout the course of it. And so when you have a guy that has a big name pedigree, but it's not maybe performed to that extent recently in a way that they can consider to be reliable, I think that is sort of the package that the Cardinals felt they were going to end up with. I think it's fair to be disappointed, though, because there's 22 hours to go. You could have potentially continued to try to work the phones and found maybe instead of quantity, get that one guy that, man, is there a way? I'll give you both of them. I'll give you Helsley and Maton. Can we find a way to get a controllable arm into this rotation sooner rather than later? Maybe we're asking too much, Joe, because the Cardinals, we said, hey, you got to get rid of these guys and get what you can for them. If this is what they could get for them, then we'll see. But we also don't know that these guys aren't going to be any good. I just found out about half of them when we got here and sat down. I can't pretend to know the history of these prospects more than I can read their page on Baseball Reference.
I want to throw this comment up on the screen because right now, I mean, in the comments, a lot of you are chiming in, and there is a lot of anger right now over this. And one of the ones I just want to point out from Jay Call right here, I hope this was Bloom and not Mo. Tell me why that matters. Tell me why that matters. Who made the move for what? Because if everybody else in the comments is mad that the Twins got a lot more for Duran than what the Cardinals got for Helsley right now, like, what does it matter one way or another? Who's behind the trade deadline? Who's pulling the strings? Who's orchestrating everything?
I can answer
Why
that.
does that matter right now? Like if Mo's the one that's talking to the media right now, I mean, the fan base is already going to hate it no matter what. Are you really telling me that if Bloom comes out and goes, hey, no, this is all my idea, you're going to go, oh, you know what? Hey, we like that. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. The reason that people feel that way is because of the perception, which sometimes perception is reality, Joe, that Mozeliak hasn't in trades gotten the most for what he could have gotten. He hasn't had the bang for the buck. History City uses a 3-word sentence here, because track record. I think people are, to say the least, they're impatient. Mo has asked for patience over the years. The fan base has grown impatient with John Mozeliak. Fair or unfair, that's a reality of the situation and the way that folks react to his tenure at this point. And so if they know, oh, hey, the prospects that they picked up, Chaim Bloom had an influence over that, that's going to resemble hope for the future. If it's Mo, they're going to say, well, look at all those guys he got in 2023. What have they turned into? Nothing. Like that's going to be the pervasive attitude among Cardinals fans. No blame assigning today. I don't want to hear it from the comments saying that I am, blaming you guys for this. I get it, because I saw that Mick Abel thing, and instantly, Joe, I tweeted out and I said, if Mo goes through this deadline and doesn't get these pieces for Helsley and Maton, if guys like Mick Abel are on the move for good relievers, then that would be a shame. And 3 minutes later, I was getting texts about Helsley's going to the Mets. And so Mo clearly was deciding that now was going to be the time rather than waiting it out until tomorrow, which on one hand, I say makes sense, because you don't want to get left without a dance partner. If this is a game of musical chairs and everybody's stocked up on the relievers that they feel they need to get where they want to go, and you still held Ryan Helsley, that would have been unacceptable. Is it unacceptable to trade for a 20-year-old shortstop that has some upside, that was a top 10 prospect in the Mets organization? I don't know if that's unacceptable. I would think that the Cardinals, have picked up some guys that they, at least somebody there feels good about. Hopefully it is Chaim. Again, because he's the one that's going to be ushering in these guys into the organization next year. And you're talking about Rob Cerfolio getting his hands on the 2 pitchers and Matt Pierpont. And like, this is kind of a way that I think the Cardinals had to gear things more toward the pitching market in terms of what they were going to get back, because of all the pitching injuries they've had in the minors. You're able to restock some now. We'll see what these guys turn into and become, but the dynamic and the archetype is the word I'm looking for of the trade was not, hey, we got a post-hype sleeper of a prospect like Mick Abel who can compete for a starting role in 2026. And I think with Helsley, it was reasonable to hope for that. I don't know if it was realistic to expect that ultimately with what we've seen play out.
And just, continuing on, I mean, a lot of people are just now discovering who these prospects are. Nate Dome, Jesus Baez.
Myself included.
Yeah. And, going as they're listening to us, also watching videos of them on YouTube play or going and looking at stats. I think somebody just put out there that Baez had an exit velocity of 104 in Florida State League last year. Like, you are digging deep to find these. I appreciate the legwork that you're doing and throwing it out here to maybe make other people feel better about the trade that happened. And I'm sitting here and I'm going back and forth looking at Johan Duran and looking at some of his numbers. He has more control. That was something you mentioned. Also, another big thing, twice in the month of July, he's gone out there for 2 innings. He's pitched multiple innings, something that we know Ryan Helsley does not like to do, and in the past has not been effective in doing so. When you get to the postseason, we have seen over the years, the playoffs, God, managers have short leashes on those starters to where you're turning a 27-out game and you're handing it off to your bullpen after 9 or 12 outs, if that, and you're saying, hey, get me home with this. Ryan Helsley is only good for 3 of those on most nights for you, where Duran is showing that he could go out there for 2. So, again, be pissed off. It's okay. I get it. You wanted this big haul back. You wanted these prospects, these guys that maybe you've heard of. It's okay to be mad about it, but I think we all have to be realistic in knowing what the return on a Ryan Helsley was going to be. Same goes. We've seen today has been a huge day of movement for relief pitchers. Both Rogers twins have been traded today.
Crazy. Yeah.
Not to the same team either. I want to see them back together. I want to see them in the same bullpen. You've seen the Pirates making moves today with bullpen. They sent a pitcher to Seattle in a trade. You're seeing other players get moved around. The Cardinals still have Phil Maton that can be moved, Steven Matz that can be moved. John King probably not being moved
Not
anymore.
now.
Yeah.
Not now. He was never. Let me just be clear. He was never being moved. There was never going to be actual tangible interest in John King. That was not going to happen.
And then reports today saying that the Padres have interest in JoJo Romero. So,
and that is something that needs to happen. That trade has to happen. Look, I like JoJo Romero a lot, and I think he would be a real help to your bullpen next year. But if you're not ready from ownership on down to say that 2026 is going to be when we're pushing some chips back into the middle of the table, then what are you doing holding JoJo when his value will not ever be higher than this? Look, Cardinals fans have made a similar argument to me when it comes to a Brendan Donovan or other guys. I disagree with it in those cases. But with JoJo, he's got 1 year remaining after this one. He's a relief pitcher, and we know how fickle those can be. Look, everybody's lamenting they didn't trade Helsley when they thought his value was at its height. I don't think he had a lot of value in the offseason any more so than he does now. If the Cardinals had found the market to their liking, I think they probably would have explored it a little bit more. But also, yeah, that might be giving them too much credit because they typically are very conservative in these matters. I'm not saying the Cardinals got a haul for Helsley. We're going to see, and time's only going to tell. But when it comes to JoJo, there's a case to be made that, if the Padres are interested, that is an organization and that is a head executive that is not afraid to trade away a guy with a big name if it's a prospect. They'll do it if they think they're getting the right guy to help them. If the Padres are interested in JoJo and they don't find a way to make that work out, I think that would be a mistake by the Cardinals that we can call it in the moment. Because, look, when you're calling it about Helsley in the offseason or in previous trade deadlines, sure, the way that things have developed since then, you might have assumed that you knew what was coming. I would say that the Cardinals didn't necessarily know where they'd be and what this season would look like. They probably assumed that it would be a lesser year and you could end up in this spot selling in July. However, for relievers in particular, Joe, the deadline almost can be a better time than the offseason because teams trading for relievers are the ones that kind of maybe didn't worry about it as much during the early portion of the year, or they're simply loading up because they know now, after having played 110 games, that they are going to be in the postseason and they do need one. The deadline, July, is a better time to, I think, capitalize on reliever value than you could have done in January. I just don't believe that would have been to the Cardinals' benefit to have done it back then. People feel that way. I disagree with them. With JoJo, the acquiring team knows they're getting a stud lefty for the stretch run of 2025, and they know they've got him under control for next year. The Padres would seemingly be the perfect team to trade with because they're always willing to move guys, move prospects to get what they want, and they don't have a gun-shy front office. I'm not saying you get more for him than Helsley, but I'm not saying you're not, because I think there could be a real piece in a deal with the Padres that you could end up feeling pretty good about. And he doesn't have to be a three-guy package every time, Joe. That's what I would say is like, man, it feels like they're getting quantity over quality more often than not. Don't always roll over for that, but I'm not in those rooms to know how these negotiations went, so it's a little bit difficult to say.
And on top of that, I mean, JoJo can just walk right over there to the clubhouse tomorrow.
That's true.
You don't have to pay for his travel to get to San Diego. The Cardinals can cover that for you tonight and just take him there, and then he just goes to the other clubhouse. So save a little bit of money on that. Some people in the comments asking, okay, what now? Who's the closer now? With this team.
I'll tell you
earlier today, John King was placed on the 15-day injured list with a left oblique strain. Gordon Graceffo recalled from Memphis. So you have Gordon Graceffo now in your bullpen. Have not seen any move come across yet as to who's going to replace Helsley in the bullpen. Probably not happening tonight. So you're probably only playing with 12 in the 12 pitchers tonight. A short bullpen tonight. I would say if it's the game gets played tonight, it's probably going to be Phil Maton coming out there in the ninth closing for you, or JoJo Romero, depending on lefty righty situation.
Unless they're on the line with those teams about those two guys, you don't want to risk their injury if you have something close to the finish line. And like Matz is an interesting one. You don't have to worry about him pitching tonight because he pitched in back-to-back, so he would be unavailable tonight anyway. But Matz is weird because, he's on an expiring deal, but also there is a value to a guy that can sub back into the rotation if push came to shove. So yes. I'm not necessarily of the mind that they must move Steven Matz. the innings he could conceivably give you, and I'm sure he'd be happy to do it to try to showcase for a potential free agency. I think that could still carry some value, not in the sense that, the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs even after trading Helsley and maybe others. It's more of a factor for me that they should look to at least be semi-competent and continue to develop and build on these young players right now in the way that they are approaching things, rather than go the way of 2023 where it was very bleak and you had guys playing down the stretch that just weren't big leaguers.
I saw a question get thrown up there, but taken down. There you go.
I got it.
100% sincere question. Why has nobody mentioned the very real possibility that...
Okay, well, that's why it was taken down.
And it was paid for, so great. All right.
Great.
This is Cards Central Instant Reaction, and we are brought to you by DraftKings, where the crown is yours, and the DraftKings Pick 6 app. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
If you are jumping in and you are just seeing this right now, Ryan Helsley traded to the Mets. This is a Card Central instant reaction as we are minutes away from first pitch. Jeff Passan reporting that it is their number 8 prospect, Jesus Baez, who's a shortstop, their number 14th prospect, a pitcher, Nate Dom, and a right-handed pitcher, Frank Elisalt. How are you going with it?
Looks like. That's what I'm going with for the time being. I don't see a pronunciation guide there on Baseball Reference, but it was mentioned in the chat that he's a swing and miss guy. He was playing for Nova Southeastern Sharks. That's what I'm seeing from his NCAA time of the Sunshine State Conference. That's got to be down there in Florida, I would imagine. Was it low A and then up to high A this year in the Mets organization more recently. ERA in the 3s, more strikeouts than innings pitched. You're always looking for that. And the same is true of Nate Dom. 43 strikeouts in 34 innings for him this year in Brooklyn after he was called up from St. Lucie earlier in the season. So, you're right. It's 2 guys that, and certainly Baez is a 20-year-old player, 3 guys that you're not going to see in 2026. I feel pretty confident saying that.
I want to say this, right now, somebody else pointed out they're stockpiling shortstops right now. You mentioned the Padres earlier. You mentioned the Padres in win now mode. We just saw the Padres last weekend. We're going to see them again this weekend. Go look at the Padres starting 9 and look at how many of those starting 9 came up as shortstops.
Yep. I don't know why people are so obsessed with this. Tatis is playing right field.
It's like 7 or 8 of those guys were shortstops.
Machado used to be a shortstop. It's half their lineup that came up as a shortstop.
Cronenworth, right?
It's not bad. It's a feature, not a bug, my friends. And like Weatherholt, the same thing. They'll eventually move if they have to move, right? It's not a problem. If I had to pick an infielder position that I want everybody in my minor league system to be originally, it's shortstop, because it means at some point they were athletic enough to do it. And so I have no problem with them stockpiling shortstops. Shortstops can eventually move just about anywhere because they're the best defenders on the field. That is, I feel like I'm a broken record with how many times we have talked about that, but it is the case. And by the way, just want to mention this while you guys are watching. We don't know what's yet to come for the remainder of the trade deadline period. And so make sure you guys hit subscribe on the channel right here, STL Sports Central. We'll have instant reaction shows tomorrow morning. Joe and I are planning to join you again at around 8 a.m. to talk a primer for the day and continuing to break down the Helsley move and whatever else may come.
And then on top of that, I will be sitting at the desk at about 3:30, 3:45, we're going live, and we are taking you up until the actual deadline and beyond. Myself, I believe Chris Pelican will be there, and we'll have a lot of people also on hand to do that as well. Brendan, I believe you and Sarah are on the post game tonight for the Cardinal game. If it gets all the way through,
is this game happening? We don't really know. I guess it's happening still.
I would
supposed
imagine they're getting ready to take the field right now, but we got about 500 of you guys watching us right now instead. We will, though, take a break. We will call it a show for now and let the game happen on the field. I'm gonna get about. I'm still about 10 minutes from home as I'm sitting here in a parking lot doing this show right now.
Who gets traded next? One prediction before you leave. Who's getting traded next? Who's moving for the Cardinals?
It's Phil Maton. Phil Maton's going next.
It's Maton for probably half of the value of what you got in this package, or this is what it should be. JoJo Romero, if that Padres stuff has real smoke behind it, you might see that be the deal if it happens, where you get like one or two guys instead of this quantity package that you don't feel like you're getting guys that are close. I would love to. You could send them both to San Diego, to be quite frank. I know that means you're going to have to really.
They already have the 4 horsemen out there in the bullpen. Could you imagine? I mean, I'm just saying, like that would just be.
You give Mike Schilt some ammo. Give Schilty some ammo. But I'm telling you, if there's a guy, and I'd have to look through their system, but if there's a guy that you would say, hey, he's not really a bona fide starting pitcher, but he's ready enough to where he's going to come into Jupiter, Florida in February of 2026 with a chance to win a rotation spot, that's the type of guy that I think you're looking for through the rest of this deadline. I still would say the name Reed Detmers. I still would say the name Taj Bradley. But those moves are not going to come from the Cardinals selling Ryan Helsley. Like, if you're going to buy while you sell, I recommend it. But if they get that creative, it wasn't going to happen in this deal. So it's okay to go, damn, I wish they would have gotten some guys a little bit closer to being ready. It's why I said on Tuesday, I don't think y'all are ready to stomach what a rebuild would look like, but I also think you're in luck because the Cardinals aren't going to do a full rebuild. But when it comes to the types of moves that they're able to make today, this was a cash in your chips for whatever you could get. And in this case, it seemed to be 3 younger, further away from the big leagues type of prospects.
All right, enjoy the game tonight. Today it's Cardinals and Marlins. They are underway. We will be back post-game, or if any trades happen during the game, right here on STL Sports Central. All of our content is brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours.